ordered this building. It's a lumberyard company is what it is, and I thought I'd have a hand at putting a model together. You know, I look at all these prices of already made buildings, and it's pretty expensive. I might wind up with one or two of them later, but I thought I'd have a hand at building a model. I'll show you what I bought, and I'll show you how far along I am. And hey, this is my first one, so let's have some forgiveness, okay? Yeah. So this is the box of the model I bought of the lumber company, Walton and Sons Lumber. Hey, who remembers the Waltons? So I'm going to build this. You can build it two different ways, and I'm building it with the two separate buildings. And then there's a storefront that comes with it, an office, you know, where you probably go in and you know, make your orders and your purchases, and then you go out to the yard. This is the direction sheet that came with it. It's pretty easy to follow. All the pieces are numbered, and it shows you how to make the separate building, or how to make it as one building. So that's just a quick look at the directions. Well, like most models, you know, that I remember when I was a kid, they come in the you know, when they molded the pieces, this is what it looked like in the factory. And you can see where they're connected to the rods they're molded on, and I just used one of these things and cut all my parts out with it. I made sure that the flat part was against my part I was going to cut out, and this curved section was always facing the knob. So like I said, I went with building the two smaller yard buildings instead of the one big one. So this is actually what you're seeing here. Then I have another one, you know, for the other side. And then these things here actually get flipped over, and that'll be put here, and then the roof will come up and come down just a little bit. But, you know, this is how far I am here. I tried to weather the concrete floor so that it would look, you know, dirty, and I repainted the inside of the walls, and then I'm painting the outside now. I'm trying to, you know, weather it a little bit so that it kind of looks old. And, you know, like it's about time for a paint job, you know. These are the bins for the lumber to sit on. And you have to put those all together and put them up inside the building. So I have my other one that's built a little bit further. That's with the lumber bins inside. And then there'll be a railing across this. My next stage is to build some lumber packages, and I want to stick some lumber in these before I put the roof on, so I can, you know, still manage to get them in there, and I'll glue them in there so that they stay there and everything. So that's where I'm at with the storage buildings for the lumber company. But I've already built the office, and I'll show you that next. So that's the office. That's the building you'd go inside to make your purchases and get your packing sheets and sales sheets, and you'd go out to the yard then and purchase your lumber or gather your lumber. This is the building that came in this kit. They don't show a picture of it here, but it's in the kit with this other building. I weathered the chimney. I don't know if you can see that at all. My camera probably won't pick it up, but it's a gray brick that's weathered white so that you can see the mortar joints. And then for the roof, I think you can see that. The roof was just a flat piece of plastic. I think I have another one I'll show you. In the parts, they had another roof that was on that thing you break the parts off of, the mold. This is what the roof looked like before I started. You can see the hole there for the chimney, and it just kind of slides in, so I don't have it glued in yet. I just have it slid in there. I thought it might be easier in case I wanted to do something else and put some people in the building. Anyway, I took that, and I wanted it to look like a tarred roof, and I wanted to be able to see the seams. So that's what I did. I went ahead and I put tape on the roof. I just used Scotch tape, and I layered it so that when you looked at the roof, you could see the layers, and then it would look, and painted it black. I mixed some colors together, try and get it to look like a tarred roof. And I may just slop a little tar, against the sides here also, because, they would have tarred up on the sides. It wouldn't have never looked as neat as this in real life when they were tarring a roof. And it's got, imperfections, and I like that about it because that makes it look real. That's the way it would have been. So, because I didn't build this top section, I wound up with all those trusses left over. So I decided to make a little suspended roof so I can store more lumber than my lumber yard would have maybe held. So I took the trusses and I cut them down, and then I made the outside framework out of miscellaneous lumber pieces that I had laying around here. And then same thing with those poles are just balsam wood. And then I took some of the excess plastic and made my angle braces and that. Well, I got the roof on that suspended roof that I was building. This is actually the roof sheets that would have been used on that. Well, you can't have a lumber yard without some lumber. And I know you can buy a lot of plastic molded parts that you can paint. In fact, I did. I bought this. I don't know if you can see that. There's a bunch of little plastic cases and stuff in there. Looks like stacks of them. Almost, I could probably use that for roofing. And I'm going to paint those and use them, but I bought that, and that's about all I have for plastic. Everything else I'm trying to make so that it really looks like wood. I found some strips I could use. Strips of wood. These are these are probably about 5 inches long. They were stir strips. And I've been cutting those up into the size of the lumber I want. And then I take it like this, and I'll set it here, and I actually took a butcher knife, and I would set the butcher knife on it, and I would just crunch down on the butcher knife and move it over just a little bit, move it over a little just a bit, and I come up with this. Kind of looks like a stack of lumber, And when I glue it, I got to make sure I glue the right side, because that's what the bottom side looks like. The bottom side isn't as pretty as the top side. And the knife didn't go all the way through. Almost, but not quite. So then I would take these, and at first I would make a whole bunch of them, and then I would just glue them together in a stack. And then later I decided, well, let's try one where I could just take this and put it on the top and then use those sticks. And that's what the bottom of the pile looks like now. That's what the side of the lumber pile looks like. And that's the top of the lumber pile. And that's the ends right there. Oh, did I get out of the camera for the top? That's the top. So I'm making all different size lumber piles so you can see them here. It takes a long time, I'll tell you that. These are a few more. I colored these so they would look like cedar. And you know, when I first got into the trades as a carpenter, we were using redwood. So this is why that's a different color. I'm trying to make it look a little bit like redwood. And you would use these redwood, these are 2x6s in this case, and you would use that to lay on the top of the foundation before you would start building the floor of the house. So this went between the house and the foundation, and because it was redwood, it would last a lot longer than just regular lumber. So and then for plywood, you'll see that I have a little pile here of cut up pieces. And that's actually plywood. This is 1/16 of an inch thick. So there's 3 strands of wood that's glued together in order to make this piece of plywood. So I measured out what I thought, you know, from seeing lumber piles at work, and I glued those together. I took them and I glued them together to make a lumber pile, and then put a couple of, you know, boards on the bottom for it to sit on the ground. So because of all those strands, you know, that little lumber pile starts to look like it's got a lot of lumber to it. So then I decided, well, I'm going to make some impregnated sheeting. I don't know if you've ever seen impregnated sheeting. I just hit my camera. Impregnated sheeting, that's that blackboard that years ago they used to call, they used to call blackboard or beaver board. I don't know where they got that from. And that was the sheeting they used. And what they would do is they would put angle bracing into the walls. They would cut into the 2x4s and lay a angled board in there. So it'd be on an angle in your wall. Cut into the 2x4s, and that was your wind brace to keep the wall straight. And then they would use this sheeting. And before that, they just used 1x6s and 1x6'd up the wall. So that's a pile of sheeting. I decided to make some insulation. And all that is dowel rods. I went to Menards and found a dowel rod that was a brown color, and then painted all the tops pink. Owens Corning came out with pink insulation in 1955, and they added a dye to the insulation. Insulation was a brown and then a yellow color, and then they added the yellow. They added the pink as a market strategy, and it wound up being the best thing they could do. I mean, they're the leaders in insulation now for fiberglass. And then I decided to make some tar paper. So that's tar paper. I don't know if you can see that. Try and hold it in my hand. These look like rolls of tar paper. And I made that. I found these. These are just little plastic cleaning swabs. I was down at Hobby Lobby and I saw these and I thought, you know what, that could maybe work. It's probably just a little bit thicker than it really should be. I mean, these should probably be around 9 or 10 inches round, and this thing here is a foot if you were to scale it. But you know, you got to give and take when you're finding things from around home or in a store in order to make things work. And then I colored this brown band on the rolls. You know, when you go to buy tar paper, years ago there was a brown paper band around each roll that kept it together. So I've been busy making up wood. So when I get this together, I'll put all this lumber into the buildings and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, this is about as far as I'm going for now. I just set a piece of track back there in a box car. I'm just trying to get an idea what it might look like, and I probably won't have it set up this way, but this is what everything looks like with all my lumber in the buildings now. So I think this is just about as close as I can get to my lumber. That's what it all looks like. Maybe I'll tip this one up so you get a better look in there. I'll take the roof off this one. I don't have this glued down just yet. That's my lumber piles. And I started off, if you see these two little piles here out in front, I started off using black thread for my banding, and then these piles back here, I just drew the line on with a pen. I don't know if there's much difference or not, but I went through a lot more work making these piles with individual pieces of wood than I did some of these other ones. So I just wanted to show you what it kind of looks like when it's all together. I just made the floor out of some cardboard I cut and painted it. Tried to weather the roofs a little bit. I'm not done with them, but this is, like I say, as far as I'm going to go till I start getting ready to get this train board together. So now I'm ready to pick out another building.